World War II, a time of triumphs and tragedies, victories and defeats. In the annals of history, the United States of America faced some of its most challenging moments during this global conflict. A conflict that erupted in the late 30s when tensions between nations reached a critical point. The world watched as Germany invaded Poland, marking the beginning of a 6-year-long nightmare. The United States, however, remained on the sidelines, maintaining a stance of neutrality. But everything changed one fateful Sunday morning. As the sun rose on December 7, 1941, a wave of Japanese aircraft descended upon the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Without a declaration of war, they launched their attack, catching the United States off guard. In the aftermath, the once tranquil harbor was transformed into a scene of chaos and destruction. December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by the Imperial Japanese Navy plunged the United States into World War II. As the war unfolded, the Battle of the Philippines marked a significant setback for American forces. Plunged into a conflict far from home, they found themselves in the midst of a fierce struggle on unfamiliar terrain. The Philippines, a key strategic location in the Pacific, became a battleground where courage was tested and heroes were made. In the early days of 1942, the Battle of Bataan unfolded in a militant dance of power and resistance. American and Filipino soldiers, despite being outnumbered and undersupplied, fought valiantly against the invading Japanese forces. The battle ended in April of that year, with the largest surrender of U.S. military personnel in history. The soldiers were subjected to the infamous Bataan Death March, a brutal march of 65 miles under grueling conditions that claimed thousands of lives, yet the spirit of the American forces remained unbroken. In June 1942, just a month after the fall of Corregidor, the Battle of Midway took place. This naval battle, fought in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, was a game-changer. The United States, with its back against the wall, managed to pull off a decisive victory against the Japanese fleet. The tide of war had started to turn. However, the Battle of Midway was not without its price. The USS Yorktown, an American aircraft carrier, was lost in the battle, along with many brave servicemen. Their sacrifice, a stark reminder of the heavy toll of war, was not in vain. Their heroism paved the way for future victories, shifting the balance of power in the Pacific theater. The Battle of Midway, while a pivotal turning point, also showcased the high cost of war. The loss of the USS Yorktown and many brave servicemen highlighted the risks of naval combat. But in the face of adversity, these soldiers and sailors demonstrated the strength and resilience that would ultimately lead to victory in the Pacific, forever etching their legacy in the annals of history. In the European theater, the Battle of the Bulge tested American resolve. Facing harsh winter conditions and a determined enemy, U.S. forces suffered heavy casualties. The European theater was a stage of intense combat, marked by a series of battles that tested the mettle of the Allied forces. The Battle of the Bulge, fought in the dead of winter, was one of the most significant. This battle, named for the bulge in the American front lines on maps, was a desperate last-ditch offensive by the Germans. The American forces, caught off guard, faced a severe test of their resolve. In the midst of the harsh winter, the U.S. troops had to contend not only with a determined enemy, but also with freezing temperatures and treacherous terrain. The odds seemed stacked against them, yet they held on, displaying extraordinary courage and tenacity. Despite suffering heavy casualties, they managed to stall the German advance, buying crucial time for reinforcements. The Ardennes Offensive, as the Battle of the Bulge is also known, was a turning point. It marked the last major offensive campaign on the Western Front by Nazi Germany. Despite initial successes, the Germans were unable to break through the Allied lines completely. The U.S. forces, along with their British and Canadian allies, eventually managed to push back the German troops, turning the tide of the war in favor of the Allies. Yet, the cost was high. The Battle of the Bulge resulted in significant losses, with some of the highest casualties suffered by the American forces during World War II. But it also highlighted the resilience and determination of the U.S. troops who stood their ground against overwhelming odds. The victory at the Battle of the Bulge was a testament to the grit and determination of the Allied forces. It was a crucial turning point that paved the way for the final push into Germany and the eventual end of the war. The Ardennes Offensive, better known as the Battle of the Bulge, caught Allied forces off guard, resulting in significant losses before the tide turned in their favor. The fall of Bataan and Corregidor in the Pacific Theater were sobering moments, reminding the world of the sacrifices made by American and Filipino troops. These twin tragedies unfolded in the early stages of World War II, as the United States and its allies grappled with the aggressive expansion of the Japanese Empire. Bataan, a narrow peninsula on the Philippine island of Luzon, saw some of the fiercest fighting of the war. Despite a dogged defense, American and Filipino troops were overwhelmed by Japanese forces in April 1942. The soldiers, weakened by disease and starvation, were then subjected to the infamous Bataan Death March, a forced trek of over 60 miles under brutal conditions. Meanwhile, the island fortress of Corregidor, the last bastion of resistance in the Philippines, held out for a month longer, but in May, it too fell to the Japanese. The fall of these strategic locations dealt a significant blow to the Allied war effort in the Pacific. Yet, amidst the despair, these events also brought to light the resilience and courage of the American and Filipino soldiers. Their bravery, in the face of overwhelming odds, inspired their comrades and their nations. The Battle of Okinawa, one of the bloodiest in the Pacific, underscored the ferocity of the fighting as American forces sought to secure a vital foothold. But the fall of Bataan and Corregidor served as a stark reminder of the human cost of war, a testament to the sacrifices made in the name of freedom. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis stands as a tragic reminder of the dangers faced by naval personnel, with many lives lost at sea. The USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser, was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine just after midnight on July 30, 1945. The ship sank in 12 minutes, too quickly to send a distress signal or deploy much of its life-saving equipment. The sinking of the Indianapolis was a catastrophic event, claiming the lives of approximately 800 sailors and Marines. Only 316 men survived, enduring 4 horrific days and 5 nights in the shark-infested waters of the Pacific before they were rescued. The loss of the Indianapolis was the greatest single disaster at sea in the history of the U.S. Navy. The sinking had a profound impact on the war. The Indianapolis had just completed a top-secret mission, delivering parts for the atomic bomb that would be dropped on Hiroshima. The loss of the ship did not delay the end of the war, but it added a somber note to the Allied victory. The human cost of the sinking of the Indianapolis was immense. The survivors faced physical and psychological trauma that lasted long after the war's end. Their courage and resilience stand as a testament to the human spirit and the will to survive. Through these moments of adversity and loss, the United States of America persevered, honoring the courage and sacrifice of those who served. These events, while tragic, serve as a reminder of the courage and resilience of the American people during World War II. From the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor that thrust America into the global conflict, to the harsh realities of battles in the Pacific and European theaters, we have revisited some of the most critical moments of the Second World War. The Battle of the Philippines, with the subsequent fall of Bataan and Corregidor, showcased the valiant resistance of American and Filipino troops, even in the face of immense adversity. The Bataan Death March, a grim testament to the human cost of war, stands as a sobering reminder of the sacrifices made. Turning to the pivotal Battle of Midway, we remember the loss of the USS Yorktown and the many servicemen who gave their lives in the line of duty. The Battle of Okinawa, one of the bloodiest in the Pacific, underscored the ferocity of the fighting and the determination of American forces to secure a vital foothold. In the European theater, the Battle of the Bulge tested the resolve of the United States. Despite harsh winter conditions and a determined enemy, American forces persevered, ultimately turning the tide of the war in their favor. The Ardennes offensive, while a significant setback, also served to highlight the resilience of the Allied forces. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis stands as a tragic reminder of the dangers faced by naval personnel. The loss of many lives at sea further underscores the sacrifices made by those who served. Through these historical events, a common thread emerges: the unyielding spirit of the American people. In the face of adversity, they showed resilience and courage, honoring the sacrifices of those who served. Despite the challenges, setbacks, and loss, the United States emerged stronger, forever shaped by the experiences of World War II. In the face of adversity, the United States of America showed resilience and courage, honoring the sacrifices of those who served in World War II.